Hello and welcome. I'm Andrew Gray, your host for tonight. If you don't know anything about me, I have multiple PhDs in multiple fields. You're watching a retrospect on life. Woo! I want you all to take a moment to think about the world right now in 2067. It's amazing, isn't it, if you actually think about it? Everyone is so well off. They have enough, if not more than enough, to get by. Life is great. Conflict among countries is scarce. We are basically living in a utopian society. It's important to remember society was not always like this. It was virtually the opposite. As we go on with our lives, we tend to forget about our roots and our past, which isn't a good thing. But don't be worried. It's just practice shared by the masses. It is absolutely essential to remember the past, as it lays the foundations of change, the foundations to evolve. We now look at an important life of a progressivist, Mr. Jacob Riis.
Tenements were go-to houses in America at the time. They were literally everywhere. About 2/3 of the population of New York lived in tenement houses. They were narrow, low-rise apartments and were very cramped. The apartments were made from bricks, had either one or no windows, consequently creating an atmosphere of suffocation. They were also extremely crowded because families needed many members to pay off rent. In simple words, life was miserable. But one man helped change it all, a man named Jacob Riis. Due to his personal experience with the prevalent slums and through his own experience, he wished to educate the public, specifically to raise awareness and, more importantly, create a push for change. Due to the fact that his drawing skills were incompetent, to say the least, he was filled with joy when he found out something that could take really quick snaps, and that the camera was invented.
Jacob!
Yes, what is wrong with you? Can't you see I'm in the middle of my sketch?
Take a look at this camera. With the use of potassium and magnesium, we can now take a picture of flash in a matter of seconds.
Praise the Lord! I shall now embark on my quest to cure this ill nation. A picture paints 1,000 words. I knew the power of images. I was aware that if I could show the lives of the poverty, I could really make a huge difference for everyone. The way people live, I don't even know if you can call it living. Shortly after publishing my book, Police Commissioner Theodore Roosevelt said to me, I read your book and I've come to help. And now I devote my life to making a better tomorrow.
Riis's unflagging pictures immediately went viral, just as he hoped. And its success led to the publishing of the revolutionary book, How the Other Half Lives. His book depicted the poverty and the worst slums through imagery and text. His book was explicit, and he said that every man's experience ought to be worth something to the community from which he drew it, no matter what that experience may be. Riis's book, which quickly became a bestseller, helped battle poverty. He and other reform-minded writers became the early progressives and helped establish the movement and push for change. They became known as muckrackers, and they should be given the credit for laying the foundations of reform.
Thank you, Mr. Riis, for getting us where we are today. Indeed, you have bettered society. So as we saw, people like Jacob Riis went out of their way for making a change. They tried to change and heal the sinister world. The issue of living conditions came to the issue of public health. It's really safe to say that public health was at an all-time low. The average life expectancy of a male American citizen at the time was 45 years. Note that today, that number has risen to 117. Why? Let's take a look.
It is the year 1907. Citizens, by the masses, live in a crowded, inhumane atmosphere. Their houses are depressing and miles apart from being sanitary. which caused a lot of sickness and a lot of unhealthy people. On top of that, there were lack of hospitals, laboratories, medical libraries, and a lot of medical procedures were done at home. Additionally, drug and food industries were not doing anything constructive either. They were adding the most awful things to their products. No one even knew about it. Luckily, a man by the name Upton Sinclair helped to expose them and fixed this issue.
I guess I was just destined for good things since my childhood. I recall being the smartest kid in my class, publishing stories in the newspaper by the age of 15. I've always had a passion for writing, and my novel, namely The Jungle, was an instant success. It sold over 150,000 copies in over 17 different languages.
Upton helped expose the notorious and sinister practices of the meat industry. Their dangerous and disease-ridden conditions crippled the public. Upon releasing his book, the President of the US at the time, Theodore Roosevelt, ordered an investigation of the meat industry. This eventually led to the Meat Inspection Act.
To be honest, when I figured out what they were doing, I was just completely shocked. I mean, they had to be exposed and just caught red-handed for their stuff.
Sinclair helped create a safer environment for the meat companies. His work also eventually helped create the Pure Food and Drug Act, which prevented the use of harmful ingredients in products. Again, it is safe to say that public health and living in general was very bad at the time. However, progressives such as Sinclair and Reese helped push for change and the creation of a better tomorrow.
As we have shown, life wasn't so great back in 1907, but there's one thing to keep in mind. We focused on the majority of the people. There are still people that live extravagant and extraordinary lives, but there are negligible amounts of those people. This was due to an uneven wealth distribution, which we will get into shortly. There are a lot of negativities that we as a whole have evolved from. Progressing from 1907, we move on to 2017. 2017, 50 years ago. 50 years doesn't seem like a lot, does it? But you'd be surprised to see how different the world was 50 years ago. An obnoxious leader, and I'm embarrassed to say this, that goes by the name of Donald Trump, was elected to be the leader of the world's superpower back in 2017, 50 years ago. And this was a time when the world was at the brink of nuclear war. It was a great decision that the UN decided to get rid of nuclear power and weapons of mass destruction in general. Let's take a closer look at 2017, shall we?
During 2017, a lot happened. After the election of he who should not be named, Teresa Shook ordered women to go out and march to oppose the election of the new president. This march became the largest women's march, and it helped send out a message that people want change and that they can join together to gain it. The biggest issue with 2017 was the fact that inequality of wealth was highly prevalent. To give you the facts, 8 people in the world control have the same amount of money as 50% of the poorer nation. Interest was still a part of society, and people scarcely were generous enough to consistently give to the more needy. However, economic progressivism was a part of society and was trying to overturn the corrupt policies of big businesses. They believed that free markets were inherently unfair and that the poor were not getting any help. They wanted to reform the economic system.
As we talked about 50 years ago, there were way too many poor people. To combat the issue of the money crisis, an organization by the name NW, or Nations of the New World, was formed. As a start, they forced the richest people to donate half of their money to the poor. They also introduced the split tax method. In this, a person was supposed to pay taxes to the government and a sum of money to the poor depending on how much that person makes a year. These were one of the few changes that the NW made, and also these helped create a society in which everyone was almost the same. That is why today we're happy and successful. There are no more poor people. Everyone has enough money for a decent and healthy life.
Thank you, Martin Tyler. Indeed, life is very great now. The point of this documentary was not to scare you guys about how inhumane humans can possibly be. It was not to merely show you how we got here, but was to explain to you and help you appreciate your lives today. Everyone around us is happy, just take a look. But a lot of people have to suffer and go through a lot of pain to get us to this moment. It's always good to remember how we have evolved as human beings and as a human race. I hope all of you have enjoyed tonight's show. Thank you so much for watching. Good night!